Welcome back, everyone. We are going to talk about PES, price elasticity of supply today. So, without any further ado, let's get started. In the last video, we talked about supply, and we left price elasticity of supply for this video, and so that's what we're going to cover. Okay, so just some recap here. So when price changes, supply of a normal good will also change. Try to remember the reason for that. Well, the reason is that firms try to maximize their profits. So if they know that a particular thing is being can be sold at a higher price, they will increase its supply. The extent to which supply changes will depend upon its price elasticity of supply. Okay, so price. Okay, what's the definition? So price elasticity of supply is the let me just create a new 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 slide and explain. So it's the responsiveness of supply to the change in price at a given time period. That's it. So price elasticity of demand was responsiveness of demand to the change in price. Responsiveness of quantity supplied. Oh, sorry, quantity supplied to the change in price at a given time period. And for demand, it was responsiveness of quantity demanded to the change in price at a given time period. So, like, how much does the quantity supplied change as the price changes? Now, if we just go back a bit, if goods that see a more proportional change in supply, if price changes, they are called price elastic. So, like, if there is a higher change, like elastic, see how a rubber band is so much elastic, right? So now there is a large change, and there is a small change in price, but a large change in supply. Then the good is supposed to be price. It's called price elastic. So price elastic good would be, let's say, a cappuccino, then milk, because they are all like not cappuccino, but cappuccino is price elastic, but it's not a necessity for survival. But milk, let's say, and is a necessity. I mean, for many people, and then hence, like all the items of necessities are price elastic. Now, goods that see a less than proportional change in supply if price changes are called price inelastic. Now, best example would be, let's say, the flying industry. Like, you can't just increase or decrease the supply of aeroplanes very quickly. You can't just do that because it takes a lot of time. And goods that see a proportional change in supply if price changes are said to be unitary price elastic. So I mean, it's hard to say that there are goods that like see the exact proportional change, but you get the concept. Okay, this we know, and there are a number of factors that affect PES. They are very similar to the ones we covered in the last video. So one is the price of good. Increase in the price acts as an incentive for firms to increase supply because they want to increase their profits. I keep on saying that again and again because that's a very important point. At higher price levels, firm is more profitable as the contribution per unit selling price is higher. Now the availability of substitutes. So like if a firm knows that they can change their products very quickly from like tables to chairs, then their price elasticity is supposed to be very elastic. Because like if they're very flexible their products, that means they can increase or decrease their supply very quickly. It's easier for them to switch production, and as well as they could produce more of tables or more of chairs, as in the example here. Now, time is a very important factor. In the short run, products are likely to be more price inelastic as producers find it difficult to increase production. Now, okay, now if you take the example of the aeroplane industry, for them it's like increasing or decreasing the number of planes will take a lot of time because they are more price inelastic. Like let's say a cost of a ticket increases by, let's say, 20 or 30 pounds. Like the demand for the planes industry would not fall by a lot, and even then the supply will not fall by a lot because there is no need. And let's say like there was a need for the supply to be to be to decrease, then it would take a lot of time. Oh, sorry, increase or decrease. I mean, it's almost the same thing. So in either case, I mean, they would have to see where to sell the planes or like how to increase the number of planes, and well, so that's what you need to consider. So like time could be a factor for various products. Like products which are hard to manufacture take time to manufacture. They are usually price inelastic. Now, price elastic supply means that supply is very responsive to a change in price. We just saw that. Well, you can just give it a read, maybe even screenshot this, and because it's just exactly what I said. Now, PES calculations. How do we do that? So, like like the supply, like the demand, we just see the percentage change in quantity supplied upon percentage change in price is equals to PES. However, there is one key difference. As we saw in, like, as the price increases, the quantity increases. The PES coefficient, like which will be the answer, will always be positive. However, in case of demand, it's always negative, because if price goes up, the demand goes down, so the demand becomes negative. If demand goes up, yeah, if demand goes up, I mean, then the price goes higher. Well, because okay, that's related to supply. So if okay, just see it in terms of price. So if price decreases, demand goes higher. So price becomes negative, and if price increases, demand goes lower. So demand becomes negative. So as a result, in case of demand, the PS coefficient will always become negative. Okay, yeah. So if a rise in price of 10% leads to in a supply of 5%, then we have the coefficient as 5 upon 10 is equals to 0.5. A figure less than 1 is price inelastic, because if it's less than 1, we say that it's not very responsive. So it's price inelastic. And if it's greater than 1, we say it's price elastic. Greater than 1, elastic, elastic means a lot. So greater than 1, elastic. So that means the supply is very responsive to a change in price. Now, okay, forget about these diagrams. The calculations here are wrong. So now, okay, we see inelastic supply curve is same as the perfectly inelastic supply curve is the same as the perfectly inelastic demand curve, except you write S instead of D, and it's just like a straight line, standing straight line, a vertical line. And price inelastic, well, it's closer to being a straighter line, a perfectly straight line, because if it's perfectly straight, then it's perfectly inelastic. So, and it will have a PS coefficient of 0, and that's because quantity supplied doesn't change. So the numerator becomes 0 in this calculation. The numerator will become 0, and anything divided by 0 becomes 0. Now if you see here, a price inelastic supply curve will have a PS coefficient between 0 and 1, as we just discussed. If price was to change, the quantity supplied would change by lesser amount. As you see, as the price increases, the quantity supplied only differs by a bit. This may be because difficulty is in increasing supply, or that the incentive to increase supply is not great enough for some firms. They may not have enough money, or well, it takes time to increase the supply. Now, price elastic, you see, it's very closer. If it's perfectly elastic, it's just a horizontal line, just like in the demand curve, as we saw in the previous videos. And instead of D, you just write S, and it will have a PS coefficient of infinity. That's because the denominator will be 0, and although the division by 0 is undefined, because price doesn't change, so denominator will be 0, and we know that division by 0 is undefined. However, in case of economics, we take it to be infinity. And a price elastic product will have a PS coefficient between 1 and infinity. Yeah, because there is not a limit to which the coefficient could go. Like it cannot, there is no limit. Like it cannot just, it can go even beyond 100, beyond 1000, right? So well, if you just grab that intuitive concept, you'll see that well, the reason behind saying it infinity. Because if you extend this graph will go toward infinity on the quantity side. So that's the key thing. Now, if the price, so in elastic, if it's elastic, the price changes, the quantity supplied changes by a greater amount. Firms find it easy to increase supply. I don't know why this keeps popping up. Yeah, so firms find it easier to increase supply. And if price was to decrease, the quantity supplied would fall too. Because, I mean, if there is less price, let's say, say, suppose this laptop was being sold for like 10 pounds, firms would not really want to produce it because its cost in producing is very high. And I mean, really, 10 pounds, I mean, they could produce anything else that would sell for more. And now, okay, this is an activity for you. Determine if they are price elastic or inelastic. So here you see, I'll give you a few seconds, like you may even pause the video. Now you see that here, as the price changes, the quantity supplied changes only by a bit. So this is price inelastic. And here, price changes by a bit and quantity supplied changes by a lot. So now this is price elastic, closer to being a horizontal line, and this is closer to being a vertical line. So inelastic, it looks like an eye. That's a good way to remember it. However, it should not be the way of your understanding. So if a good is price elastic, producers will find it easier to change supply. We just discussed that. And now, okay, producers will spend time and money trying to develop processes that make it more price elastic, because that's what they want to do. So if you see, like, in an economy, like the prices for a product are keep on changing. What producers may want is that they want to make sure that they can change their supply at the same rate. This might be through investment into production capacity. It might take over other firms in order to increase capacity, which is very self-explanatory. Consumers will have more options available if goods are price elastic, right? So they would have more variety. Government will try to create an environment where firms can increase supply easily. Over time, new producers will enter markets which will increase supply, benefiting consumers in terms of choice and price. So what will happen is, if more producers enter markets, competition increases. When competition increases, what firms try to do is they decrease their price so that consumers buy from them, and at the same time they try to improve their quality of the products. So this is highly beneficial for consumers because they're getting good quality as well as low price. Now if you see, however, firms with the price elastic supply will try to maintain this advantage over a period of time. Well, very self-explanatory. Now what would happen to PES if two large companies joined together? Well, the supply will increase, because it's just the same point as this. It might take over other firms in order to increase capacity. And that's it, guys. That's it. We are done with supply. Very well played. Very well played. Alright, so if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. I always forget to mention that. Please subscribe, man. Please. I mean, I'm trying to help you all, and you can't just even click the subscribe button. I mean, it just takes 2 seconds, and you can even subscribe later. Unsubscribe later, I mean. So, well, thank you for watching this video. In the next lesson, we are going to be covering price. And if you have any questions, type them in the comment box or message me personally on Instagram. I'll reply to them all. Thank you very much, guys.